Hey, what's going on everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Star Wars Coffee, where today we're going to be diving into the expanded and updated, after the final trailer, Rise of Skywalker, Act 3. This is from the Jedi Paxis, very credible source based on all of the trailers. That's today here on Star Wars Coffee. Welcome back to all of the returning subscribers, but if you're new to the channel and you're just finding me for the first time, be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button on this video and any other video that you check out, and be sure to hit that notification bell not once but twice so that you're always notified the second a new video goes live. Alright, with that being said, we're going to throw out a spoiler warning just so that anybody who doesn't want to know anything more about the Rise of Skywalker than you already do doesn't get this movie spoiled, because Jedi Paxis is a very credible source based on all of the footage we've seen thus far. Alright, but with that being said, let's jump in to the Rise of Skywalker updated Act 3. The Jedi Paxis disclaimer. Due to the fact that the Rise of Skywalker has gone through some reshoots, the film is currently being edited, and the basic nature of leaked information in general, I cannot guarantee that everything you read here will make the final cut of the film, just as I describe. My sources assume that the majority of the film has been outlined here and will more than likely consist of some combination of pre- and post-reshoot elements. That being said, there will undoubtedly be severally surprised unaccounted here for sure. That's just part of the nature of leaked information. What the final combination of story elements will look like when December rolls around is anybody's guess. Act 3. Act 2. I'm being told that Rey's interactions with Luke have been completely reshot. My knowledge on the specifics are sparse at best, but I'm told that the overall message and tone remains the same. Following her experience on the Death Star, Rey returns to the island on Act 2. Throughout the course of the film, she is given into her aggression, nearly killed her friend by unleashing a stream of lightning on a ship, learned that she is the descendant of the Sith Lord, who reduced the Jedi to numbers they have yet to recover from, even half a century later. Saw a vision of herself as a servant of darkness and stabbed her enemy through the chest in anger. Her most recent encounter with Kylo was the last straw, and Rey has now made the decision to follow the example set by Luke and exile herself on the island where the Jedi began. Rey scuttles the ship she stole from Kylo and throws the repaired lightsaber originally constructed by Anakin Skywalker in after it. The ghost of Luke Skywalker appears to Rey, holding the weapon she just discarded. Luke's conversation with Rey is said to be encouraging, yet realistically grim in tone. Luke knows firsthand what it's like to face Palpatine, and that it's not an easy task. Rey must confront Palpatine in the same way that Luke once had to confront Vader. Luke encourages Rey by telling her of the faith Leia had in her. She saw the potential within her, and hoped that Rey would be able to restore the balance of the Force and more, just as Anakin once did. Rey supposedly asked to speak to Leia at one point, but Luke responds by telling her that Leia has not yet completed her training, and he cannot yet feel her distinctive consciousness within the Force. I'm also being told that one change that has come about is that it's made clear that Luke and Leia both knew of Rey's heritage. This knowledge contributed to Luke's hesitancy to train her. But in the end, it's about your heart and not your genes that really matter. The former opening flashback of the film has been moved here, but as far as I know, we are no longer going to see it happen, but instead have the story of Leia's last day of training told to us by Luke. A source tells me that it's stated in this scene that Leia gave up the Jedi path because she had a vision that her child would die, and she sought to prevent that. Luke apparently goes on to say that Rey inspired Leia to pick up the path of the Jedi once again, and now 1,000 generations live in you, as the first teaser said. By the end of their conversation, Rey is re-energized for the seemingly insurmountable task that lies ahead, and agrees to leave the island. Having destroyed the ship she used to come to Act 2, Luke raises his own X-Wing, previously seen submerged in the coves of the island, to allow Rey to face Palpatine. In addition to the starfighter, Luke gifts Rey with a lightsaber that once belonged to Leia. Apparently, Luke kept Leia's saber with his personal effects, and he tells and shows Rey where to get it. Rey boards the X-Wing, armed with the coordinates for Palpatine's location obtained from Vader's Wayfinder, and leaves the planet. The Resistance Jungle Base. After returning to the jungle base, several things happen. After seeing a sacrifice made by 3PO, R2 reveals that he has a backup of 3PO's memories in his archives, and is able to restore the droid to a mostly whole state. My sources believe that the backup memory to have been created sometime around the time of The Force Awakens. It's an older 3PO, but it's better than no 3PO at all. The Resistance crew finds out about Leia's death once they arrive on the base. There is apparently much mourning from the whole team, especially Chewie, who cries. Lando re-enters the story, having changed his mind, coming to the jungle base and wanting to help however he can. Seeing that everyone is at loss for what to do, Lando tries to give Finn some hope. Previously, Rey transmitted coordinates to the Resistance, but this appears to have changed. I'm being told that Finn reveals information from D.O. that leads to Exegol. With D.O. having been found on Ochi's ship, the Resistance discovers that Ochi visited Palpatine long ago when he was first given the mission to capture Rey, and D.O. can tell them how to get back there. The Resistance mobilizes, readying themselves for the impending conflict. I'm told that the Resistance takes off one direction while the Falcon goes another. Apparently the blockade runner seen in the fleet is being piloted by a Celestian, and a young Mon Cal can be seen in the fleet as well. The unknown regions on Exegol. Rey follows the coordinates found in the Wayfinder to the same spot Kylo did earlier in the film. Rey lands outside the giant cube floating above the ground and makes her way through the same underground passages. Where Rey and Kylo's experiences begin to differ, come in where Rey discovers Palpatine. Palpatine is in the same chamber that Kylo discovers him in, but in a huge open-air arena, surrounded by Sith loyalists in dark cloaks in the grandstands. A source has also told me that royal guards of some sort are present for Rey's first meeting with Sidious. Palpatine is being supported by some kind of mechanical arm, possibly connecting Palpatine to a life support machine. The sky above the stadium is filled with Star Destroyers, as soon to be embroiled in conflict with the approaching Resistance. Rey begins to confront Palpatine. The scene has supposedly been tweaked in editing and reshoots. Now, with no mention of the dyad concept, it is said to be clear that Palpatine truly wills Rey to strike him down in anger. Palpatine reportedly acknowledges that he extended a very similar offer to Luke years before. But on that day, Luke had his father to save him. Rey has nobody. She tries to resist at first, but slowly begins to lose her resolve. During their conversation, Sidious reportedly confirms Rey's lineage, and goads her to take up a lightsaber and strike him down, very much like how he encouraged Luke to do the same thing 30 years prior, telling her that only in killing him will she gain the power needed to save her friends. Palpatine also apparently makes statements alluding to the belief that Vader could not betray Luke due to their familial bond, and the same kind of bond would ultimately cause Rey to do what the Emperor wishes. As the battle between the First Order and Empire and the Resistance rages in the skies above them, Rey gives in to the Emperor's commands and decides to strike him down. Through means that are still a bit foggy to me, Ben Solo was able to leave the wreckage of the Death Star and his former persona behind, and travel to Exegol with the purpose of joining Rey to help face down Sidious. Before leaving the Death Star wreckage, Ben abandoned Kylo's lightsaber, so now he's walking into a war zone with no weapon. When he arrives on the planet, he encounters the Knights of Ren, who are guarding the entrance to the arena where Rey and Sidious are. Ben killing the Knights of Ren with only the Force has apparently changed. As it's being told now, he initially gets beat up by the Knights without a weapon. After doing this, he enters the arena as Rey is about to strike the Emperor. As Rey is about to kill Palpatine, as she realizes she sees no way around this, she senses Ben at the last moment. She realizes that she's not alone and initiates a Force bond with him to pass off one of her lightsabers to him. Rey apparently takes out the guards with Leia's saber while Ben uses Anakin's to dispatch the Knights of Ren. They reconvene to face Palpatine together. Seeing Ben arrives pleases Sidious. Palpatine then uses his power to bond them together and begins to siphon power and direct it into himself. As their power flows into him, the once silky and decrepit Palpatine stands tall and strong once again, restoring himself to a much younger, healthier state. My source on this tells me that it looks clear to them that it was Sidious's plan for Rey to kill him, take over and carry on his legacy, but sucking the life out of him and rejuvenating himself was his contingency plan. The skies over Exegol. While all this action is happening on the ground, Much more explosive events are happening in the sky. The Resistance and the First Order are locked in battle. The details I have on what happens during this branch of the plot are a bit sparse at the moment, but here's what I have been told. The Resistance arrives, and they are confronted with hundreds of Palpatine's Sith Star Destroyers. The Resistance first target is a control tower, the same one seen in the opening of the film, that sends out a signal to the Sith fleet on how to navigate out of the area. Once the First Order notices this, Pride transfers the signal to his flagship instead. I'm told that this enables the signal to be bounced around from ship to ship, making it impossible to stop. The Resistance decides to assault Pride's destroyer to knock out its control tower. At one point during the battle, Finn and Jannah, joined by others, but exactly who is not clear, land on Pride's flagship to destroy it. They recognize this as essentially a suicide mission, but Finn and Jannah in particular see the price they may have to pay in order to prevent more children from being abducted like they once were. I'm told that this assault has the feel of a D-Day style landing, using creatures Jannah has been riding in promo shots against the Sith troopers. The troopers allegedly put up a fight, but the good guys eventually win, knocking out the tower. While the Resistance is taking heavy losses, Pride announces that they will simply transfer the signal to another ship and carry on. Exegol. Having returned to full strength, Palpatine then shoots lightning into Ben, forcing him to fall into a bottomless abyss, never to be seen again. Sidious then shoots lightning into the sky at the Resistance ships. This reportedly shorts the ships out, leaving them essentially dead as the water as it once were. He reportedly continues to make statements about how Rey will join him. Rey reportedly lies on the ground and begins to concentrate, calmly but hard. She reaches out to the Force asking for help, and she finally begins to commune with the Jedi of the past. I'm being told that among the voices that she hears during this time are Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, among others, although these are the only names I've specifically been told, and finally, Leia. In defiance of this, Rey grabs both Anakin's and Leia's lightsaber, and Palpatine turns his wrath on her. It's lightsaber versus lightning at this point. Force ghosts are no longer seen in the scene, but it's supposedly indicated that the Jedi of generations past are with her in spirit, overpowering the Emperor, deflecting his lightning back toward himself, killing him and unleashing an explosion powerful enough to make the arena start to crumble around them. Darth Sidious, the last of the Sith Lords, is finally dead. The Resistance ships come back online following Palpatine's death, and they continue fighting against the Star Destroyers. Lando shows up in the Falcon with reinforcements from across the galaxy. Zorii appears to be among them. There is apparently mention of the First Order interference with the Resistance signals on Crate, and not allowing responses back through, but they heard the call for help loud and clear. Finn fires the Star Destroyer's own cannons at the ship itself, destroying it before the signal can transmit to another Star Destroyer. Without the power to navigate, the fleet begins to crash into itself. At this same time, Finn and Jannah complete their mission and succeed in destroying Pride's flagship. The two are prepared to go down with the ship, but are rescued at the last second by the Falcon. Rey escapes the crumbling arena. The Resistance jungle base. Having won the day, the survivors of the battle regroup at the jungle base and celebrate. What follows is apparently celebration across the galaxy, once again mirroring what is seen at the end of Return of the Jedi. I'm told that Poe attempts more than friends insulation with Zorii, but is rebuffed in a moment that is played for a light laugh. Tatooine. For the end of the film, the heroes then travel to where everything began, the desolate sand, swept planet of Tatooine. Between defeating Sidious and this moment, Rey has disassembled Anakin and Leia's lightsabers and used their components to construct one of her own that I'm told contains a golden yellow blade. Rey buries the leftover pieces beneath the Tatooine sands at the site of the Lars homestead. As Rey turns to join Finn, Poe, Jannah, Chewie, R2, 3PO, BB-8, and D-O, a stranger calls out to her. The stranger apparently speaks of how nobody has been seen around this land for a very long time, and asks Rey for her name. This is the second time in the film that this question has been posed to her, but unlike her response on Pisana, Rey decided who she is. She gives the name Rey Skywalker, to the stranger, adopting the name of her masters, and revealing the primary meaning of the title of the film. Rey joins her friends as they took off into the distance at the horizon of the desert planet and watched twin suns set on a universe filled with hope.